Hello, everyone, and welcome to Lesson 10 Mavericks and Learning. So, last week we jumped into Mavericks, and I gave you a little explanation of why I really kind of love the idea of Maverick as a little bit of a way that I want you to think about yourself as a teacher and the way that I want you to think about pedagogies. So let's have a little bit of a reminder. Pen color. Let's have a little reminder of mavericks and the definition. So mavericks shape history with their ingenuity, ambition, and adventurous spirit. They are unorthodox and independent-minded people, and they are unique, inspired, determined, risk-taking, forward-looking, creative, and eager for change characters. So this is what I want you to be as teachers, and this is what I am hoping that you will have sort of as a base for your pedagogy, for your strategies in specifically in teaching ELA, but really teaching across the curriculum. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to look at why Maverick pedagogy. And this is inspired from my own views on education and my years in education and kind of seeing what's out there. Also, I had a good chance to, it's backwards, oh well. I had a good chance to read some good books this summer, How Learning Works, Most Likely to Succeed by Tony Wagner and Ted Dintersmith. Ted Dintersmith is one of my favorite authors, is amazing. So I read another one of his books called What School Could Be. And then I actually read one called Teaching College, which is basically just stealing ideas from K to 12 and putting them into post-secondary. So it's been super fun around my house with me reading all these educational books. But this is kind of what inspired me to start thinking about introducing you to these maverick kind of ideas. So let's jump in. So remember that we talked about, or that if we think about learning as these three aspects, learning is a process and not a product. That's a big one. Learning is a process and not a product. Learning is changing knowledge, beliefs, behaviors, and attitudes, and learning is a change that has lasting impact on our students. Okay, so if we believe that this is what learning is, then we need to be the most efficient and amazing in our teaching strategies in order to reach these goals. Thus, that is why I want you to be thinking about maverick pedagogies and strategies. So how do we get there? How do we get to this true kind of learning? Okay, so this is what we're going to talk about today. So we provide authentic, hands-on, real-world experiences. So things like community classroom, things like connecting with community, things like writing the local paper about something that is affecting your elementary school, like taking your grade 6s and reading with seniors when it's not COVID time. It's like creating stories with tech tools and then sharing them out into the world. Authentic, hands-on, real-world experiences where, I'm going to go right into the next bullet point, where they relate what they are learning in the classroom out to their lives and their lives to the classroom. What happens so often with school, all the way from elementary, junior high, high school, all the way to post-secondary, is that what you're learning in school is not what you see out in the world. And so then it becomes this sort of school knowledge in real world knowledge. And what we want to do is we want to marry the two. So they will not really learn the material if they only ever see it in the classroom. So even take our theme on loss that we looked at. That's real world. They will lose something. They will lose their backpack. They'll lose their favorite pencil. They will probably lose a cat or dog in their life. that's real world. And so they'll start to connect, oh yeah, what happened in that book is what happened in, and I can relate that to now what is happening in my life. Okay, the next one is we want to ask them to think critically more than we ask them to recall. Now, I must admit to you that I looked back at my first year when I taught Ed Psych, and I looked back at my midterm, and I actually was a little ashamed at what I had on there. It was multiple choice, it was fill in the blank, it was true and false, it was basic just recall. And I thought, wow, I can't do that kind of exam. So this past exam that my first years wrote last week, it was all application. Tell me about Vygotsky in the classroom. Where are you seeing Vygotsky's theories in the classroom? So it's, again, trying to get them to think more critically than just recalling stuff that they can find on Google in 10 seconds. Okay. Next one, engage them in learning projects that are important and interesting to them. Okay. So engagement is huge. It's, if you're into it, the time flies by. It seems so exciting and you're into it and your heart is pumping and all those sort of things. When you're not engaged, it's dreary, right? So you want to engage them in learning projects that are important and interesting to them. So if they're totally into squirrels, let them write about squirrels. I had to honor the squirrel. I've been bashing the squirrel a lot this semester. Had to pick the little guy up a little bit. So if they're into squirrels, let them write about squirrels. If they're into motorbikes, let them write about motorbikes. Your outcomes, they will learn the same. They learn outcomes, but they'll be so much more engaged if they're actually writing about something or reading about something that they're interested in. Okay, get to really know our students as learners. Ask them what they want to learn and what they already know. They know what they know, and they know what they want to know. So we should ask them. Can we just always do what they want to do? No. But it can inform your teaching. It can inform your teaching if you actually know what they know and what they want to know. That can absolutely trickle into what you are going to teach them. Okay. Do you feel the rant coming? I'm trying to not rant. Get away from standardized tests that only focus on memorization. They have a place. They have a place to show a snapshot, but they have become a monster and they have become a driver of education as we know it. And I have seen no recent research saying that we need standardized tests because it has been proven that it actually improves this kind of learning. Okay. It may improve some memorization, but we know that that's not useful anymore when we have a phone or a computer that can look up anything in super short period of time. I did read about California. There are 3 major universities in California that are not using SAT exam scores for entrance exams anymore, and that's a big breakthrough for a U.S. University because they always use SATs as their entrance exam or as part of their entrance package. Okay. Next one, I want you to think about how do we get our kids to real learning is we focus on skills like thinking deeply, communicating clearly, leading with empathy, and resolving conflict. This is so far removed from memorizing poetry and learning about ancient Chinese history. Sorry, I have to not rant. Right? This is so not focused on content, but so focused on 21st century skills. Kids need to be able to think deeply. They need to be able to communicate clearly. The kids are going to be working in groups more now than ever. They need to be able to lead with empathy, and they must be able to resolve conflict. Okay, that was I saved myself. I was so close. Yep, I'm learning. Okay, and next one is have students demonstrate proficiencies and not test-taking ability. So think about how can you include e-portfolios? How can you include oral exams? How can you include poster presentations? A showcase evening where parents come in or other teachers come into your class or something like that, where they show proficiency and it doesn't come in the form of a test. Next one, bring back the joy in learning. Kindergarten kids, you cannot contain them on the first day of school. They are super excited. They know that learning is cool and important. And yet, by the time they're in grade like 5 and 6, you can hardly get them out the door. They want to go see their friends, but they're not excited about the learning. What happens? Why do we beat the joy out of the kids? We don't want to do that. We want them to be joyful in their learning. Okay, the next one. We want to promote risk-taking and failure. I think we have, I don't want to overstate and say a generation, but I think we have a lot of kids in school right now that are paralyzed, not just scared, but actually paralyzed of taking risks because of failure. We have demonized failure, unfortunately, and it is a part of life. In every facet of life there will be failure, and if we don't in a safe, supportive situation, which hopefully our classroom is, show them how to deal with failure when they get out and they fail the first time in a job, that's rough, right? So I think we need to promote risk-taking and failure and how to deal with failure. Okay, we want to give them opportunities to be truly creative. Again, not just cutting out the snowflake and making it look the same as everybody else's. And this is more about, there's obviously, you can be very creative in the arts, in music and visual arts and drama and things like that. But I think we want to be thinking about creative as in thinking outside the box about anything. Not just limiting it to, okay, when we're doing the arts, then we'll be creative. No, how can we be creative in every aspect of our schooling that we're bringing forth to these kids? Okay, actually teach students, now I'm going to bring it down closer to ELA. Actually teach students to think, not memorize facts about how to write, but actually be a writer. We often give them so many terms and so many things to think about that they, again, can't be a writer. They just kind of tick the box. We don't want that. We want them to be a writer. And we want to put books in their hands that are amazing and they cannot put down. There's so much amazing children's literature out there. Both for younger grades and for young adult. You have to know it, so you have to read a lot of kids' books, which is part of the rationale why I wanted you to read some children's literature. And you need to get those books in the hands of kids that need to read those books. Okay. This is my little maybe. These are the things it's time to go. So I've been teaching in post-secondary for almost 15 years. And I thought it would take when I first started, I thought it would take a few years for the concept of inquiry-based critical thinking, constructivist theory, kind of Dewey, Vygotsky's ideas to get into the classrooms, and then that's what we would see. But there are still a lot of boring, time-consuming, soul-damaging teaching going on out there. And I don't want you to be that kind of a teacher. I want you to be a maverick teacher. I want you to have these characteristics. When I see you in 4 or 5 years with your classroom and I walk in, I want to feel the buzz of your classroom, that your kids are so on fire about learning and taking risks and creating and looking at things from different points of view that it's tangible in the air. So here we go. Maybe it's time to put to rest worksheets and packets. Do we sometimes have to do some pen to paper? Absolutely. Do we sometimes want to have to do a unit where it's like, okay, you got to do some pen to paper and you got to do a couple worksheets? Yeah. But when it's just worksheet after worksheet after packet, that's not cool. We need to get leveled books out as our only reading, only in guided reading, not I think it is soul damaging for kids to only read leveled readers their entire grade. There's so much amazing literature out there that would be inspiring to these kids. We don't want them just reading paragraphs and programs with online tests. Again, it's standardized. It's not proven. I think you need to be really wary of that. And here, okay, I won't rant. Standardized tests, we just have to get rid of them. We have to take a stand. You have to take a stand as young teachers going out in the field that standardized tests are not the way that we actually promote this kind of learning. Okay, so hopefully through experiencing these Maverick strategies and these Maverick pedagogies, you can see how you can actually use these in the students. Use these to get your students, there we go, to a place of real learning. Not soul damaging, boring learning, but real learning. So here we go. Here you are. You already are Mavericks. Look at this fun we had with the puppets. Look at you guys singing and dancing out at Cypress. Living the dream. So I challenge you to be a Maverick. Inspire your students to be excited, committed, independent readers and writers. That's all.